Hello there again, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood Trashman, back with another piece of fantasy content for you today. I'm going to be talking about 2022's most overrated running backs. So these running backs all have considerable upside, but there are too many downsides to taking them where they're currently being taken in mock drafts and otherwise. So let's go ahead and get started. First off with Javonte Williams of the Broncos. I was extremely high on Williams, as was most of the fantasy world, when the news came that he might have the Denver backfield all to himself this season. We now know that just isn't going to happen, though, unless some malady befalls Melvin Gordon, who the Broncos re-signed to the chagrin of many fantasy owners. Sharing the backfield in 2021, Williams ended up with 1,219 yards and 7 touchdowns, which isn't bad for a committee. That being said, he's being drafted ahead of guys like Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, and James Conner, all of whom outscored Williams in fantasy last season. If we're talking purely dynasty, perhaps Williams deserves that kind of love, but if nothing changes in relation to Gordon, Williams is going too high in drafts right now. Someone else who's going too high, Clyde EdwardsHelaire of the Chiefs. EdwardsHelaire only played 10 games last season, so his apologists have that fact to hang their hats on when discussing his lack of production in 2021, but he still averaged 10.1 fantasy points per game. That's less than Kareem Hunt, who had 10.8, who only played 8 games in 2021, and Rashad Penny, who had 11.6, who played 10 games just like EdwardsHelaire. EdwardsHelaire is currently being drafted ahead of both of those guys. I understand that Tyreek Hill is gone, leaving a bevy of potential targets for the running back. But Ronald Jones is now in the fold as well, and he's arguably a better in-between-the-tackles runner than EdwardsHelaire. Unless you're in a league that gives heavy point differential to receptions, EdwardsHelaire is going too soon in drafts. You can't draft too soon, though, on Underdog Fantasy. The NFL draft season is underway, and you can already draft in 2022 fantasy leagues on Underdog Fantasy to win cash prizes. With their slick mobile app and user-friendly site, you can join a league and draft in just minutes. Plus, the folks at Underdog are going to help you get started with a deposit match of up to $100 and bonus cash when you sign up and make your first deposit with a promo code ROSTER. So just visit UnderdogFantasy.com, the App Store, or the Google Play Store. Sign up with the code ROSTER, that's ROSTER, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. I've been playing their Best Ball Mania 3 game, up to $10 million you could win there. And that's on Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROSTER. Last but not least, on my most overrated running backs in 2022 is Antonio Gibson of the Commanders. I've always liked Gibson as a prospect, as he's dynamic and can be an asset in the passing game. But the young runner is in between a rock and a hard place right now, with J.D. McKissic set to take receiving targets and rookie Brian Roberts in prime to snipe goal line attempts. This, coupled with Gibson's history of nagging injuries, gives me pause when considering drafting him ahead of guys like David Montgomery, Ezekiel Elliott, and even Breece Hall, all of whom he's being drafted ahead of currently. Say what you will about any of their shortcomings, but I don't see any of them coming out at the goal line. And I didn't even mention Curtis Samuel of the Commanders, who can be used out of the backfield as well. There are too many variables for me to take Gibson at his consensus ADP right now. Anyway, those are my most overrated running backs in drafts right now. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you heard, leave us a comment, follow us, join us at RosterWatch.com. If you don't like what you're hearing, you can leave a comment then too. I'd love to hear from you either way. Anyway, this has been the Trashman I have for RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.